The film kicks off with a young, wealthy boy named Billy Wennon writing a letter to Santa. Billy is an intelligent child who lives with his grandmother and his frequently absent father, who is always busy with work. After writing the letter for Santa, Billy is off to school, but he runs into his grandmother on his way out. The number of ribbons on Billy's blazer indicates that he has never lost any school competition that he has been in until he loses his school science project for the first time, and he completely overreacts. In the next scene, we are introduced to Santa, whose real name is Chris, and his British wife, Ruth. Then we meet Jonathan, a hitman who also collects rare items for his Christmas-themed cabinet. The things he collects are gifts originally given to children by Santa, which he buys from them. It turns out, Jonathan was a troubled child who only ever received one Christmas present in his life, a small toy car. Ever since then, he never received anything again, fueling a lifelong resentment. Billy, being selfish and vindictive, hires the hitman to kidnap Christine Crawford, the girl who beat him in the science fair. Billy wants to scare her into giving up her first-place ribbon. He builds a crude device using a car battery and causes sparks by rubbing the positive and negative terminals together. It works, and Christine is terrified. Meanwhile, Santa hears a radio broadcast while on the road when he was on his way to a bar. The report says that people are losing hope in him, which deeply upsets him. At the bar, Santa then demonstrates his uncanny ability to know everything about everyone when he talks to this guy hitting on a bartender, someone Chris also knows personally, since he is Santa.
How are you, Mike?
Don't think I know you.
Nicole and the kids are well, I hope.
Look, I wasn't gonna do anything.
Later, we find out that Santa is facing financial difficulties. The government pays Santa to manufacture presents for children, but lately, more children are receiving coal than gifts, which led the government to cut Santa's budget. But Santa cannot operate on a cut budget. They have a brief argument. The government then proposes a deal for Chris to keep things running. They want to take over Santa's workshop for 2 months to use it for producing military hardware, specifically control panels for fighter jets, using elves as workers. Chris and Ruth are hesitant, but consider the offer. The next day, Chris contacts some old friends to see if there's any way he can still make and deliver gifts with the little money he has left, but nothing works out. Christmas Day arrives, and Billy raced to open his present. He was enraged when he opened the box to find coal. He calls Jonathan one more time, this time asking for the impossible. He wants the hitman to kill Santa. Jonathan is taken aback and smiles. I guess it was because he was waiting for a reason to kill Santa all his life. He accepts the mission. At first, tracking Santa proves difficult. Chris is a man who doesn't want to be found. He collects letters from a public P.O. box and stays completely off the grid. Eventually, Chris decides to accept the government's deal, though he struggles with breaking the news to his loyal workers. It takes Jonathan 2 kills to finally locate Santa's P.O. box. He gears up, packs weapons, and prepares for a long road trip. At the workshop, the military settles in and begins their work. Santa shows off some impressive physical strength in a standout scene.
Thank you. Steroids.
Jonathan arrives at the postal location tied to Santa's P.O. box. He questions the clerk, who tells him that Santa comes in every few days. Jonathan sets up a stakeout and, by the next morning, spots Chris. As Chris walks into the postal office, the clerk mentions to him that a strange man came looking for him earlier, but Chris didn't think much of it. He thought it was one of the military and left. As he was coming out the door, Jonathan prepares for a sniper shot, but a truck blocks his view at the last moment, forcing him to follow Chris back to the workshop. Jonathan scouts the area and is surprised to find the place heavily guarded by the military, but it doesn't deter him. He gears up for an assault, beginning by distracting the gate guards by throwing a ski towards them, then silently taking them out. He advances slowly, eliminating soldiers one by one. As he enters the workshop, he sets up explosives while progressing further into the workshop. However, an elf discovers and disarms one of the charges, prompting Jonathan to open fire. Jonathan's shots makes the elf run, which in turn alerts the guards of a hostile presence. Panic spreads throughout the workshop. The elves retreat to a panic room built specifically for emergencies like this. Jonathan eliminates most of the military as he is trying to move out of the workshop and to find his way to Chris. As Jonathan is at the door of the workshop, two elves ambush him. He shoots at them, but misses. He then throws one more explosive into the workshop and detonates them. Eventually, Jonathan comes face to face with Santa. Here we learn that as a child, Jonathan wrote to Santa asking for his deceased parents to be replaced. Santa couldn't fulfill that wish. In return, Santa gave him the small toy car, and Jonathan never forgave him. They exchange gunfire. Jonathan with a semi-automatic rifle, and Santa with dual handguns. As they move towards each other, both are injured. Santa takes a shot to the leg, Jonathan to the shoulder. They both hide behind a stack of the same chopped wood and attempt to sneak up on each other. But Santa steps on a stick which broke, alerting Jonathan of his presence. A brief fight ensues. Santa attacks with a wooden log, while Jonathan remains armed with a rifle. Santa manages to pin Jonathan to the ground, but the hitman pulls out a knife he had previously hidden in his knee and stabs Chris twice. Santa falls to the ground. While Santa is down, Jonathan gets up, looks down on Santa, and pulls out a handgun and shoots him in the eye and assumes he's dead. Ruth rushes out of the house and shoots Jonathan, who fires back. Jonathan goes after Ruth into the house to finish her off, but she left drops of blood to point Jonathan to the wrong door, making him vulnerable. She slowly closes the door she hid behind and points her gun towards Jonathan. As Jonathan moved, she shot him, killing him instantly. Ruth then goes back outside to check on Chris, who clenches his fist, indicating that he's still alive. One of the elves finds Jonathan's notebook, which contains the names of all his clients. That's how they discover Billy was the one who hired him. Back at the Billy's house, his grandmother notices suspicious activity in her bank account. Billy overhears her phone call and, fearing she'll discover he's behind it, he steals a bottle of pills from her room. And he makes the pills a powder-like mixtures to put in her milk, trying to poison her. But before he could give the milk to his grandmother, he hears a knock on the door. It was one of the maids, and behind her was Ruth and Chris. They had surprised Billy with a visit. Santa drank the milk that Billy had laced, indicating his immunity. Chris asked Ruth to take his bandage off. As it slowly unwraps, it reveals the gruesome wound in his eye left by Jonathan. Chris tells Billy to look at him. Chris then warns him that if he ever causes trouble again, he'll face severe consequences. Billy is terrified. The movie ends with Santa rebuilding his workshop, preparing for the next Christmas.